Linda from paperboutique.blogspot.com. I just received my Imagine and I love it. Today I'm going to show you how to print anywhere on a card or scrapbook page using your Imagine. For example, you'll be able to print on the inside of a card. You could actually print directly on the card. You could print virtually anywhere on the front of a card, or like I did on the back of the card, or anywhere on a scrapbook page. This workaround is a bit cumbersome, but I'm hopeful the updates to the Gypsy will make it a little bit easier. Today we're going to use the wildcard cartridge for the sentiment, but all of the cartridges have nice phrases or sentiments. Let's get started. In order to use this technique, you need to create a blank square by flood filling the square with white. The printer will treat the square as if it is blank and print nothing. Let me show you an example, and we're going to move to the Imagine in just a moment, but this is easier for you to see. For example, after you've printed the square, and this is just gray for purposes of demonstration so you can see it, you're going to continue to add squares and stop where you're at the point where you want the sentiment to appear. For example, I made each of these squares 1 inch and flood filled them with white. So now if I wanted the sentiment to begin here, it'd be perfect. But in this example, I wanted my sentiment up a little higher. So what you'll do is you'll just, in this case, I would decrease the size of this square and delete these 2 squares, and then the printer carriage would start right here. So it's just a way of tricking your printer into starting where you want, because the printer will not print anything that's solid, filled with solid white. Then you're going to continue, if you want to move things around, you can continue to size and resize the squares until your sentiment is where you want it to appear on your card. And if you're doing a big scrapbook page, you may not want to use 1 inch squares, you may want to use 4 by 4 inch squares. But now let's stop and give it a try on the Imagine. For this project, be sure that you have the Imagine set to print only and that you have inserted a wildcard cartridge and the Cricut Imagine More cartridge. The first thing we're going to do is go to the shape library, and we're going to select the square with rounded corners. Now, for purposes of this card, I'm going to go ahead and size this at 1 inch, and I'm using the true size, so it's going to be set at 1 inch. Then I'm going to go into the color, define color. I'm going to click on a blank square, and as you can see, the red is set at 255, the green is 255, the blue is 255, which will equal a white, or you can go all the way, scroll all the way to the top here to get white. I'm going to click apply. Then we're going to go back, and you'll see that you have your white square, and I'm going to hit apply again. At this point, I'm going to go in and copy it. I know that I'm going to need 4 squares. To copy it, you just click on it and click in the bottom right hand corner. That's 3. Then we're going to do 1 more. Now I know for this card one of the squares needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'll click on the last one. I'll go in and resize it, and I know that it's going to be that I need to size that at 0.6, and I'm getting to 0.6. Then I'll hit apply. Then we're going to go into hit next. Now this is where we're going to do all of the work on our project. The trick to making this work is to size this square to meet the needs of your card. For example, the inside of the card I'm doing that I showed you earlier with Merry Christmas is 4.25 by 5.5. So I want my screen to be exactly at that. You can see here it's 4.5 instead of 4.25 because this only goes in half-inch increments. You're going to have to kind of eyeball it. Now at this point, if you put in the sentiment, it's going to be right here, which is exactly where we want it for this card. But let's say we want to do something a little bit different. Like let's say we have a card that is this size, and we want to print right on the green. What you will do is you'll go in here and you will size this at 8.5, which represents the entire width of the card and the height, and then the Merry Christmas you will put on this side. If you're doing something on the back of a card, you'll want to fill this with white squares and have something right here. This is the real key. Let me show you one more example of the back side of the card. This particular card is done on the back, and now this is a different size, so if you're making this card and you want it here, you're going to actually make this mat into the size. Okay, let's go back, and we're going to do 4.5 again, and now it just takes a minute to fill it. Now we know that the sentiment is going to be here. Another thing, if you're going to do a 12 by 12 inch scrapbook page and you want to print something here, you're going to flood fill all of this with white. You might want to use bigger squares. Let's add the sentiment. Let's go back, and we need to go to the wildcard cartridge, and I'm going to click on phrases. I hope that you can see this, and here is the Merry Christmas, and then we're going to click on Merry Christmas to edit it. And I know that I want my Merry Christmas at about 1 inch, so I'm going to change the true size again. I'm always working in true size to 1 inch. Most of the sentiments that I've done are between 0.8 of an inch and 1 inch. In this case, normally you would go in and flood fill this with either a pattern, or you could go into your defined color. I flood filled mine with red. I'm leaving it this way so that it shows up better. Red just isn't going to show up. Then I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to hit next. And I hope that you can see this, but that is exactly after that white square where the printer carriage is going to start. So that looks about where I want it on the page. Now if I wanted it down a row or to the left or right, I would add some more 1 inch squares or ½ an inch square just to position it wherever I want it on the page. I know it's a bit cumbersome, as I said earlier, but I'm sure in the Gypsy update that ProvoCraft is going to come up with a way to do this a lot easier. After you're happy with it, you could, if you're not, like I said, just click on the square, go in and size it. You can size it here, or you can go back to your other menu and size it, whichever is most convenient for you. Then you'll click on next, and obviously you'll get, this is a screen where you'll go ahead and print it, but let me show you. I'll bring in one that I've already done, and be very careful. I didn't have my settings right, so I actually printed at one point on the mat. So here's an example of it printed on the 4 1/4, and I cut this at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and just put it on the mat. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching today, and for more projects and ideas, please visit my blog at www.paperboutique.blogspot.com. Bye-bye.